Hello everyone, welcome to this new information video for the next tournament from me, BenZ0. Um, just like the last time, I just make this video here to kind of answer some questions that people may have, so people can check in here, see how things exactly work, and I just hope that all the questions are answered here. So yeah, let's start with the first thing that kind of changed. So we changed a bit now the pairing. We used to do that back then, that we just made a 1v1 pairing, which means team 1, for example, would fight against team 2, right? And then, you know, team 3 against team 4, team 6 against team 7, stuff like that, like pretty easy, right? And we're gonna try out something new. Keep in mind that this tournament is completely for free without any prize pool, so we took this opportunity to try out some new rules, new stuff, and just want to see how that works out. If there's any problem with that, and if something may, you know, have issues or something, well, it wouldn't be too bad because it's just anyway just a free tournament. And I guess you, as with your team, just want to try out some new stuff or just bored and want a bit of something to do. So yeah, that's the perfect opportunity for everyone, right? Yeah, so what we are gonna do now is that we put 4 teams in one group. Since we have 12 teams currently, and maybe we will be even more teams later, we will have 3 groups, maybe even 4 later. And each group always has 4 teams in total, and in this group, these teams are fighting against each other, everyone, kind of like a battle royale. Think about that way, right? So you can see here, for example, we have team 1, team 2, 3, and 4 in one group, and they're gonna play against each other, which means team 1 would play against team 2, 3, and 4. And the same would happen for team 2. Team 2 would play against team 1, 3, and 4, and so on, right? And the 2 teams with the most amount of points collected in these games in group 1 would advance then to the next round. And the other 2, like the 2 teams with the fewer points, with the lesser points, would obviously just, you know, disqualified. Pretty simple. And yeah, and the same thing will happen in the next round. So which means the 2 winners of each team are gonna get again stacked together in a 4-team one group bracket again. And again, the same would happen. The entire teams would fight against each other, and the 2 winners of the one group again would advance, and the 2 losers would just be disqualified. And this is how we're going to do it in this tournament. We're just going to see how that works. The reason why we do such a weird thing is I personally don't like it when a team joins in the tournament. They will just play 1 or 2 games, lose immediately, for example. That could happen, and then they're out, and they just played 2 games. And I find it a bit, you know, boring, since they just played a few, not more than 2 games, kinda. So yeah, with this system, I just hope that every team gets to play a bit more games on average, and then be disqualified. And yeah, again, this is just kind of to try it out, and let's see how that works. In theory, this sounds well, it sounds pretty nice, and let's see how that will work now in practice, right? So yeah, let's get to the next point. The next point is about the point system. We changed obviously some stuff as well there. In the old point system, we just had kind of like categories with subcategories, right? We have the same thing going on there. The only difference is each category had a maximum point of 2 points each subcategory. And we increased now every subcategory point amount to 5. So this gives us a bit more wiggle room for people that were a bit close with the points, you know. It was in the last tournament a bit rough, trying to decide if we would give them 2 points because they did it really well, or maybe just 1 point because they did some little mistakes, right? And it was a bit hard to just find a nice middle there. And with 5 points there to wiggle around, it's a bit easier. So we can give, for example, the person 4 points because he did it better than 3 points, but didn't do it good enough for full points 5. So that's why we can give him 4 points. And I think with this bigger amount of points, it's easier to find a middle we want to give, you know? Again, this is all kind of experimental, we just want to try it out. But again, in theory, this sounds well. We talked about this thoroughly through with the entire team. And yeah, I guess we're gonna try it out like this. you will have a maximum amount of 80 points for both teams, survivors and the killers. So the main category got changed for the killers as well as for the survivors. Here we can see that you will get a maximum amount of 20 points. And for the killers, we changed something like you will get on each first hook 2 points each. And same goes to the second hook. You will get on the second hook 2 points each survivor as well. And then you will get just 1 point for each kill. We want to discourage just tunneling straight through, but also we want to reward if you gather hooks, right? Keep in mind that if a survivor hits the struggle phase, like the second hook, or maybe dies on the hook, this also includes those points. So don't worry about that. So we don't mind if someone stays too long on the hook and just hits the next phase or dies in that case. That's not a problem at all. So you will just get normally the same points as you would just hook them normally. So there's no big difference. We just want to reward the first and second hook more than the kill itself. We personally have the philosophy that we like we want to reward the first and the second hook more than the kill itself. For the survivors, on the other hand, against 20 points at max, right? You will get here 1 point for each unhook. So since there are 8 unhooks in total happening, for if there would be a 12 hook game, the survivors would get 8 points in total for if they unhooked everyone, right? Same on the gens, we changed a bit of stuff. It may look a bit weird with the 8 points, but we kind of had to fill up with those points and find a nice balance for everything, right? But I think this sounds a bit fair in that sense. So you will get for the first 2 gens just 1 point. So Gen 5 and Gen 4 just 1 point. And for the last 3 gens, you will get 2 points each gen. Since the last 3 gens are kind of the hardest gens in kind of a way to do, so you're gonna get a few more points for that. So yeah, you can get also again, if you did all the gens, 8 points in total. We talked about this. I personally am not really that hyped for that, but the other judges talked with me about that. They really wanted to reward gens in that sense too. Also in the last tournament we had some other teams that requested getting points for gens. So now we're gonna try it out with gen points, and we will see how that works. So yeah, let's just hope for the best, right? And also you will get for each escape just 1 point. Again, we don't want that survivors just push the gens and just escape and straight up and just leave the survivor die on the hook or something. You will get points if you escape, but as you see, it is not a whole bunch of points. So it is still better to just go in for the save maybe, or try other risky plays and get more points for that rather than just escaping with the rest of the team. Also some little changes. On the file you can see we changed, for example, the positioning in mind games. So what it meant is that we wanted to reward players that played without ultra stretch resolution, which means they would stand, for example, on the T-wall at a specific corner, so they can wait and see what the killer is doing and respond according to that movement. So that's why we connect this with responding to movement and positioning. We changed this a bit now out with greeting, because we want, again, to discourage the typical tournament gameplay where survivors just early drop every single pallet and just run from pallet to pallet. This is very boring gameplay that is not really fun to watch, and we want to reward players that play just, you know, more classic, like in pub games, with just greeting the pallets and stuff, right? So in that case, we replace this with the greeting category, which means, again, if you greet for a loop, just run another loop, for example, to get another loop out, and if that worked for your out and you got 1 extra loop out of it, you will just get rewarded for that, simply as that. Same goes for windows or something. If you try, for example, a window fake, right? We know that window fakes, of course, don't work always, but imagine a window fake would work. You never know. It can even happen in tournament, right? Imagine a window fake would work. This would count into the greeting category because you greeted the window and got paid off for that. But yeah, we all know greeting, right? If it doesn't pay off, you can get hit or even die for that. So yeah, that's again a back and forth. Keep in mind, very important, that these points here are not meant that you have to do these. if you see here a red light counter, which means you have to check around the corners for the red light of the killer. If you don't do that, it is fine. You don't have to do that. This point system is not made that you change your own gameplay just so you get more points. This point system is made that it should rate every possible gameplay type with points. It should reward every type of player who wants to play, how they want to play. So again, you don't need to change anything of your playstyle. You don't need to look at this file and now try to adjust your group's gameplay just to get more points. Just play as you always would play, and you will see what points you will get, right? Simple as that. However, keep in mind that the only thing that we don't support is the typical tournament gameplay in terms of pushing gens, and if the survivor's in the end game on the hook, just let him die and just escape with the rest of the team. If you do that, that is the only scenario that we would kind of punish in a way by not giving that much points. Because we want that games should take longer and should be a back and forth for both sides. So keep that in mind. Yeah, something else we changed is the point system for the maps. Back then we didn't really had a point system for the map. We just hoped that if a map spawn was nice, and if not something wasn't nice, we just adjusted the points for that in general. Now we're gonna change it a bit up. So we have now a pool of map points for each map. So we are gonna categorize all maps depending on the killer, of course, right? From low to mid tier and high tier map, which means just it's the difficulty. A low tier map is a pretty easy map. A mid tier is just pretty simple. It's medium, right? It's a medium sized map, medium difficulty map, and for example, let's say a high map, a difficult map would be, for example, bad and preschool. Since this map has a lot of god palettes, it has a lot of indoor stuff like that, right? So yeah, and out of these 3 tiers, you will get a range of points. This would be for low tier 1 to 3 points, for mid tier 4 to 6 points, and for high tier 7 to 6 extra points. Now, something has changed, because back then, in the last tournament, I just gave the killer the map. Simple as that. The killer didn't have anything to say, he just had to play on this map if he didn't like it or not. Now we're gonna change something, since we had some people talking with me about that in last tournament, and we're gonna try this new system out. Again, free tournament, just trying out new things, if that works or not, it doesn't work, right? So now the killer will get to choose from 3 maps: a low tier map, a mid tier map, and a high tier map. He can choose whatever he wants. He can choose the low tier map if he doesn't want to risk anything and just wants to play safe. However, he will just get a lower amount of range of points depending on the map, right? But if the killer feels like, okay, I can try to play on a harder map and go into the risk, he will get rewarded for that, because he can get up to 10 extra points. And since we have a maximum amount of 80 points, 10 extra points can mean a lot. We had in the previous tournaments games where the teams lost with 5 points difference, and the map can actually do that in that case, right? So yeah, here in the example we would say if we would have a nurse, right? The nurse could choose from Groaning Storehouse in a low tier map from 1 to 3 points, or she can take a mid tier map for Mother's Dwelling, for example, 4 until 6 points, or she can take Bed and Preschool, 7 to 6 points, if the nurse likes that. This is all up to the killer. The killer can even adjust his build to that. Keep in mind that our point system can adjust the points to everything. That it doesn't just mean on the gameplay, but also on the build. So in this tournament, we a little side topic, we took away a lot of the banned perks and banned add-ons, which means you have a bigger range of things you can choose from now compared to back then. However, if you play a really strong setup only for a map, or just for your killer, a really strong loadout, right? You will get a lower amount of points to compensate that strength, if you know what I mean. For example, if you can even use some iridescent add-ons if you will choose them, and of course if they're strong in that case, right? If you use a strong iridescent add-on, you can use it, but keep in mind that the iridescent add-on will reduce some of the point categories. For example, let's say it's not an iridescent add-on, but also a really strong add-on, right? For blight, you could play with compound 21 now, which is the add-on that if you slam into something, you see the aura of all survivors through the walls for a few seconds in a close range. This add-on obviously allows that survivors cannot kind of hide behind corners or something to mind game the blight. So in that case, when the blight will choose to play with this add-on, he will get less points in the mind game category, since this add-on obviously denies those mind games. Simple as that. And this is with every single stronger add-on. And again, the same can happen on the map. If you choose, for example, Bad and Preschool, which is a very close quarter map, and it's rather hard to find survivors if they decide to play more sneaky, then you will get compensated for that in the mind game category, which means a nurse will kind of struggle most likely if survivors play smart on the main building on the school and make use out of these close quarter rooms and just hide a lot there and break a line of sight a lot. And to compensate that, the nurse will get a higher amount of mind game points, or like tracking points in that case, or chase points, to compensate this map. Okay. One last thing before I finish this video, it's pretty important for the teams here. You are allowed to play with stretch resolution, however, the maximum amount of stretch resolution you're allowed to play is 4 to 3, which is in that case 1440 x 1080 resolution. If you have more than that, and we can see that in the gameplay, because most of the people tend to look on the ground a lot to see more, of course. If you do that, then you will get penalized for that and lose a lot of points in the mind game category, because you're having an advantage to your opponent. Same goes to the killers. The killers are also not allowed to play with a bigger resolution than that. So keep that please in mind. So yeah, I think that's all what I had to say. If you still have questions, just feel free to DM any of the mods, or maybe just write in the question channel. Besides that, I just wish everyone a nice day. We will see us in kinda like a few weeks for the tournament then. Till then, see ya guys.